You know, there's nothing like being behind the scenes. I love being in the green room, although I know you got to tell me all the time. Thank you for the emails. There's no green, okay? Even John's not even wearing green today. But for those folks that are out there, I would spend I don't know, probably a couple episodes reading what John Register has really accomplished. So let's just put that to the side. And let me just ask John the question. John, who is John Register? And John, what are you up to these days, my friend?
Shay, wow, I'm so honored to be on the show, man. All you all that are out there right now, you're about to get hit with some really great knowledge because Shay's about to pull it out. I don't even know what I'm going to say, right? That's number one. Number two, this is a great show. As all of you know, what Shay's been putting down, you get nothing but quality. I love listening to the show. So why are we here today? We're talking about amputating fear and embracing this new normal mindset. Now, I know all of you are probably hearing the new normal has been out there long time and everybody's, since COVID's hit, that everybody's using the term, but I use the term a lot differently, a lot more strategically. It's not a destination as most people say, but only a plateau to grow. So that's what we're talking about today. We're going to hit this topic. We're going to hit it hard for you entrepreneurs out there. We're going to hit it hard for all you that are business owners. We want to make sure that you have the tools to make sure that you are amputating that fear, embrace this new normal mindset. Why? To win the medals that are in your life. That's why we're here, Shay.
I love it. And can I just address the elephant in the room? And you brought it up. We know that COVID-19 is here. Okay, at least during this time right now, and there's been changes in a lot of folks' businesses. It's impacted my family. I've lost family members to this. It's
I'm so
impacted our
sorry.
business. It's impacted a lot of things. Take a moment if you can. Let's just have a conversation. And I'm curious, what
Yep.
type of conversation are you having with your clients right now? And what type of conversation are you having with your peers right now? What are y'all talking about and what are you sharing in order to encourage and to inspire each other?
Well, I think before we can even get to the encouragement and inspiring each other, right, we have to take a step back because a lot of people, what they did not do was really take a respite and just, grieve the loss because it was tough. I mean, I had a lot of dates on the calendar and all of a sudden that was gone. My clients had a lot of things that they wanted to accomplish. That was gone. And as we're trying to spin and ramp up, no one took the time to really grieve the loss of what had actually happened. And so I took about a moment, a day and just kind of just like, oh my gosh, just kind of sulked a little bit. But then it's time to get back up on the horse. And that takes a lot. That takes a lot of effort. So what I tell my clients, what I tell my colleagues is that once you get over that moment of grief, what are you doing? I believe we have to develop some type of a ritual. The ritual leads on to a rhythm, and the rhythm elevates us to a rise in our life to move back into a healthy and active lifestyle. It's around resilience. And resilience, we'll talk about this a little bit later. It's a 10-letter word, and for me, that's very significant. We'll talk about that later too. But in resilience, embedded in that word is the word silence. Before a starter starts a race, they say quiet for the start. How do we hear our own voice first before we start going out trying to run before we can walk and walk before we can crawl?
Walk before we can crawl. I love that, my man. And how has your schedule changed? I mean, what is a typical day like for you? We're behind the scenes. Don't y'all love it? We're kind of behind the scenes with them. Don't
Absolutely.
worry, he's going to talk about fear and embracing the new norm. And he's going
I'm
to
in the
get
basement.
this great conversation, man.
This is the
But
dungeon. This is where it happens, right here. Got my board behind me, got some just things that are around me that show what past performance was like. That you got to do the work, you got to get in the dungeon, you have to make it happen. And some days are tough. I'm not gonna lie, right? Some days are really hard to get out of that bed, to take that shower, to do my walk around the neighborhood, and then come back and get after those calls, get after helping people. Because it's not really about me, making the calls and all that. It's about the impact because that hasn't shifted. That has not changed. And if we don't focus in on the mission and the vision that we've had for our business, it can stop. And it stops us from producing and stops us from going forward and creating content and putting solutions out there for people who really need it. We have to be the ones, soak for a minute, get back in it because people need to hear your voice.
I like it. Soak for a minute, but what? Get back
Get
in it.
back in
For
it.
those folks that are out there right now, hit the share button. For Hope Speaks, thanks for joining, by the way. Sonora's watching. You even got Carla watching, by the way. She's out there watching right now.
Carla, thank you.
Daniel, thanks for tuning in. Samantha, all of you tuning in right now. I promise John Register will change your life if you let him. We've got a show to get going, by the way, but I love being in the green room. We come back, we're going to talk about embrace this new norm and how does someone go from really being a champion to then being another champion and then working with champions. We'll talk about that in Olympics in just a second. We'll be back in 5. We got to get going, by the way. 4, we got a show. 3, 2, 1. It will change your life if you let it. We're going to get back. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. It's showtime. That's the best time. Promise I made to my mom. I only did this message for one person, and that's my mom. This is for you, Mom. Love you. My name is Shay Brown, the happy entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Shay Brown.
Mic check, mic check.
All I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
Yes. Yeah.
And they stay there. And they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win.
Well, it's a great day. My name is Shay Brown, the happy entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we're on a mission. And our mission really is to empower. Our mission is to inspire, and our mission is to provide you, that's right, you, the entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And I believe you have 3 visions that I love to talk about, right? I believe you have 3 visions. I believe first you have a vision for yourself. The food that you want to eat, which is going to be organic, I'm sure, during these times. The clothes that you want to wear. You don't have to buy that many clothes right now, right? Or just the home that you want to live in. It takes resources, which means it takes revenue. And then we're talking about that. And then you have a second vision, I believe. You have a vision for the people that you love the most. Some of you want to send your kids to a school of your choice. Others of you want to write a check for a loved one and take care of their insurance to make sure their mortgage is taken care of. I get a chance to talk to Mother there. I talked to her today. She's ordering food from a whole other place. Imperfect Foods, by the way. They're not sponsored, so I shouldn't mention them, by the way. But, you know, so now she knows how to order. It takes resources, especially when they're using your credit card. I love you, Mother dear. She might be watching right now. But it does take resources, and that's a lot of fun. And then the third vision I believe you have is you. That's right, you. You have a vision for the people you were called to serve. And I want you to imagine for a moment that you're like Noah in the Bible. Whether you're a believer or not, I happen to be a believer, but imagine you're Noah. You've been given the vision from God. You've been given the experience. You've been given the expertise. And right before you get ready to get started, you get this knock on the door. You're like, what's going on? Excuse me, Noah, sorry to bother you, but there are no hammers in the house. No hammers in the house? No big deal. We're going to be okay. What's going on? Excuse me, Noah, sorry to bother you again, but we have no nails either. No hammers, no nails. Rule number 1, don't what? Don't panic. Gee, Moniz, last time, I promise not to bother you again. I promise, I fully promise. There's no team and there's no wood. Good luck on this mission. Ha, that might be you. But you know what? You can embrace the new normal because today we got the one and only John Register in the house, and he's going to help you embrace the new normal and hurdle over adversity to get to where you want to get to. So John Register, what's going on, my man? How are you?
Oh my gosh, Shay, it is on and popping right now. Everything is just, I can't believe how much content and everything's going on in my life, right? Because all this stuff has shifted. And I love how you brought that in with the new normal because that's what I'm all about. So, and I've been saying that for, quite a long time now. Before this, I've had a podcast on that's called Life's New Normal Podcast in its 4th season. So as I kind of teased up when we're out there in the green room, right, was about this whole concept around this. And I really want to set this up correct so people understand what I'm really talking about in this when I use the term and the phrase. Because most of the people out there right now are using this term as a point of reference. It's a point of destination. I can't wait till we get back to normal. I can't wait till things get back to normal. Or this is our new normal. I guess this is where we are. That is not the way I choose to use this word, because when we get into my whole life story, it was my wife who began to help me understand that we're going to get through this time, this tough time, this difficult time together. This is just our new normal. And I realized at that point, that hard time in my life, that it wasn't a destination because I still had some more places to go. The destination may have been here, but then that destination is reached and it becomes a plateau. And that plateau is only your new normal, so you can actually grow from it. You can elevate from that baseline. And every single day we get that reset. Every single day we can shift our mindset to think, I'm going to be better tomorrow than I am today. Today is always going to be better than yesterday. And I can choose to put myself in that mindset. So it's never a destination. It's like this, Shay. When we look at individuals that are looking at sustainment, right? We always talk about, we got to sustain. Well, when we're talking about Olympics and Paralympic athletes, they don't sustain anything, right? It's a dirty word for them, because if an athlete is training 4 years from today, the way they're training today, they've already lost the medal that's in their life. And so we always need to shift. We always need to push. We always need to elevate to this new normal mindset so that we can bring not only ourselves there, like you were talking about, our families there, our clients there, but we can bring a higher level of consciousness to anybody that comes in contact with us.
I like that. Embrace the new normal. Now, for those folks that are listening right now, John, they might be curious. What's a little bit of the backstory? I mean, do you mind if we slow down for a moment and
Absolutely.
then we'll speed up? And some folks don't really know who you are and are really curious on what's the backstory, Shay, that got John to where he is now and embracing it with this whole passion that we hear him when he speaks. Tell us a little bit of that story, my friend.
So thank you for that. What a gift. So I was a world-class athlete. Ran for the University of Arkansas, was a 4-time All-American athlete while there at the university in track and field. Ran the high hurdles, long jumped over 27 feet, ran the high hurdles in underneath 13.5 seconds. And I was on some relay teams and equaled like 4 All-American honors. When I came to the end of my time and career there, I actually went to the Olympic Trials for my first Olympic Trials in 1988. And I finished up 25th in the long jump, and I finished up, I think, 17th. And so that was pretty decent, right? It was my first shot. The United States only takes 3 athletes that qualify for the Olympic Games, the Olympic times, to the games. So I was, 17 and 25. It's pretty good, but I wanted better. So I decided from that point that I was going to jump in to the United States Army, and I started, I took that time because the Army had this world-class athlete program. The world-class athlete program allows a soldier athlete to train at that point in time 3 years before an Olympic Games in order to represent their country, not only on the battlefield, but on the battlefield of sport. So that was my end. I said, man, I'm already going to the Olympic trials. I know I can make this team, and I did. But on my way to Presidio, San Francisco, to start my training, Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm came up. And guess who got sent off to serve? So I was diverted, and I went to the Gulf War, had an amazing time. I wouldn't want to do it again, but it was an amazing growth experience for me. But when I came back after 6 months of serving in the Gulf War, and I went out to Presidio, San Francisco to start my training, I no longer could run the high hurdles. My rhythm was gone. Everything was out of sorts. So my coach, his name is Remy Korchimny, he says, let's run a 400 meters and see what we can do with that. And I went an indoor meet and ran underneath 47 seconds. And he said, we're shifting your event right now. So think about that. I'm a high hurdler. We're shifting the event now, to the 400 meter hurdles, 1 lap around the track. And it's a very grueling race. And we went in on that one. And after 6 races, I finished up 17th in the Olympic trials. I had my race. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And so I was pushed off to Germany, shipped off, and I trained over in Germany. And when I came back to try to get back on the world-class athlete program again in 1994, I was now running my first sub 50-second hurdle race. If I would have run 2 more years after that, USA Track and Field News at that point in time had picked me to be one of the top 3 athletes to represent the United States at the 1996 Olympic Games. And now also I'm loving the Army. So I've taken the officer selection battery test. I've scored very well. I've gone through the board, and going through the board, the officers that were in charge of me, I served underneath, they recommended me for officer candidate school. So I'm like do 20 years as an officer, get out, do another 20 as a civilian, and I'm going to travel the world. That was my plan. But on May 17th, 1994, as I'm training for a race the next day in the 400-meter hurdles, I am practicing, and I'm practicing over the first 3 hurdles. I'm approaching every hurdle at the speed of about 8.7 meters per second. So all of you out there that do math real quick, what is that? If you got a chat box, if you're out there, how fast is 8.7 meters per second? And I'm going to give you the answer in a second. But I'm going over, keep working that clock. So, so I'm running as fast as I can, and the answer is I'm running about 19 miles an hour as I'm approaching these hurdles. But the wind in Hays, Kansas is blowing really hard that day, and I'm having trouble with my steps. So I'm getting, as I lead over with my right leg, I'm getting 13 steps to the hurdle. I'm getting 14 steps, which means I'm having to switch my legs. And you don't want to do that. I'm ambidextrous, I can, but you want to set your race up so that you have your optimum performance the next day. Again, creating your base. So I do my one last proverbial pass. I jump out of the blocks. I get my steps to the first hurdle. I'm leading with my right leg. Second hurdle, 13 steps, boom, it comes up. I'm leading with my right leg again. I'm on. Third hurdle comes up, and I'm saying, I'm going to be a little short. It's going to be 14 steps. I'm going to go with my left leg. So off the right leg I go, cross the hurdle with my left leg, and when I land, I hear, and as I hit the ground, I fell forward. I saw my left shin pass in front of my face. I landed on my back. I bounced to a halt. And I did a quick once of my body. My shoulders were okay. My waist was okay. When I saw my knee, Shay, my left leg was canted across my right leg with the tip of my shoe touching the black surface of the clay of the track. And at that moment, the only thing I could think about was, just get up. Just get up, John. Come on, push yourself up. You can do it. Push yourself. Push. You can do it. But I wasn't going to be able to do that. And then the pain hit. So in that moment, between that space of pain and kind of you're disoriented, I was in that moment of that. Is this really happening? Is it not really happening? What's going on? I'm the 8th fastest hurdler in the country. USA Track and Field News just picked me to make the Olympic team. I've been to 2 Olympic trials now. I have a really good shot at doing this. I went to officer candidate school. All these things began to start coming up, and when the pain hit, it took 90 minutes for the ambulance to arrive. And the ambulance picked me up, the folks that were there, EMT team, take me to the hospital, where a doctor comes in a white lab coat, stethoscope around his neck, clipboard in his hand, takes one look at me and says, "Mr. Register, looks like you got a bit of a problem. I'm gonna have to fix that." So he bores down that crooked leg, and he says, "We're going to do this on 3. 1, and my leg balloons up, it swells up, and I pass out. Now I'm at the hospital. I'm medevac to the hospital in Wichita, Kansas, where I've gone underneath several vein graft operations to try to save the limb because my artery was severed. So it took a vein out of my right leg, put it into my left leg, try to make the arterial flow come back, and it just wouldn't work adequately enough. So I was left with a choice: keep my leg, use a walker or wheelchair for the rest of my life, amputate my leg, use a prosthesis for the rest of my life. Now, what kind of choice is that? After the surgery, I told the doctor before the surgery, I told him, I said, you know what, doc, I know it has to be amputated. My wife, Alice, she's holding on to my left hand at that time. My parents are on the opposite side of the bed. My little son, John Jr., he's 5.5 years old, at the foot of the bed. And I look at the doctor, I said, Dr. Mullins, I know it has to be amputated. And he turns and starts going right in. He said, okay, we'll do it tomorrow night. And after I woke up from that surgery, there was no one in the room. Alice had been there all the time. She's dog tired, my wife, and she's at the hospital, or the hotel that's next to the hospital, with John Jr., her mother-in-law, and my father. And all of them are there, and I'm waking up in I was in more pain than I was before the amputation had actually happened. And I just wanted something to knock it out. So I reached over to a morphine drip button to try to push the button, but I was too weak to get over there to press it. I saw the nurse's aid station right outside my door, thought I would yell out to them, but the tubes that were down my throat made the sound too inaudible to get their attention. So there I lay in that bed for the next 7 hours with my dangerous thoughts. Who am I now? What's my identity? Is my wife going to stick around? Is my son still going to see me as his father? Will he still value? Do I still have a job in the Army? Can I support my family? My Olympic dreams are over. At 8:30, Dr. Randy Mullins comes back in the room. He takes one look at me and sees I've done a 180-degree shift. He immediately calls my wife. Alice is over at the hotel. She comes running over. She should have been awake and had come over and see about me when I woke up, but no one knew because I couldn't articulate it. And it takes them 45 minutes to get me out of bed, into a wheelchair, wheeled out to an inaccessible playground where I'm parked in that chair watching my wife and my son play on the swings. And Shay, I couldn't push myself out of that chair. And I lost it, started crying uncontrollably. It was the most devastating disability understanding that my life was now changed. This loss that I was feeling that was crushing down on me. Alice sees me struggling. She comes running over. She wraps her arms around me and says, "What is going on?" I began to articulate to her everything that was happening in my life the night before, my fears. And then she says the words that stops my downward spiral. She says, "You know what, John? We're going to get through this together. It's just our new normal. It's just our new normal." And when she spoke those words, she baselined my entire existence. John Jr., as I'm thinking about it, he jumps off the swing, hits the ground and comes, "Hey, Dad, you see my big jump? You see my big jump, Dad? You see?" And he jumps in between myself and my wife. And in that moment, I realized he had just validated me as his father. And it created his new normal. And that's exactly what I had to do. So when we look at this term of how we can, it's not a destination, because I didn't stay in that point. It was only a plateau to grow. I have to give that credit back to Alice, who told me to shift my mindset. So if you're out there right now and you are struggling in this COVID-19, or you're out there having to be like I've been doing, being helping allies understand what's going on with policing in America, any one of those things, or whatever is happening in your life, you're there for a reason, to help people out, but also to understand that your purpose is to elevate, to not stay at a destination. And you have to do that by putting yourself in such a situation that you are resolute and you are resolved. And that takes a lot to get through. And so, I'll pause right there, and I want to kind of help people through that part of the journey, Shay. And I have a graphic of Fear to Freedom that I'd love for you to put up and just kind of walk people through that graphic. It's like an infographic on it.
Yeah. Let me have the team do that. Before we do that, for those folks that are out there, you listen to the one and only John Register. And one of the things you can do, what's up, Eric Heileck, who's out there in Florida, by the way. I got to connect you and Eric together. They have a wonderful show called Marriage Can Win. And your wife, great story to be on there. Latanya Renee is out there right now. Beulah is watching right now. For all of you out there, here's what I'd like for you to do. You can pay this message forward. Embrace the new normal. And I'm going to ask him to talk about this pathway from fear to freedom in a moment. But before he does that, you can hit the share button. hit the watch party button. Share this message into your network. Share this message into your Facebook page or into your group. If you're watching it now and you got a hold of the long lost video, you can share it as well. But when you hit that share button, write these words: embrace the new normal, hashtag John Register. That no matter what's going on in your life, you can embrace the new normal, but he's not going to leave you there, because he has this whole thing about fear to freedom that he's getting ready to share with you. But there might be someone out there right now that can do it. So hit the share button, hit the watch party button. We believe in the giver's economy. The person that outgives the competition out-earns the competition. The person that outgives the competition out-earns competition. Do that. And before y'all bring that up, some of you, I just want to share a little bit about what John does, and a little bit of backstory. He's a very humble guy. But John, we was able to pull together something that they shared with me about embrace your new normal mindset. Embrace your new normal mindset. Let's share that with him. And then I'm going to have John come back and kind of frame up this whole fear to freedom. Can y'all bring it up? Let's share it with the audience.
It's critical to go in with a game plan. You think Olympians and Paralympians go in with no game plan? Everybody wants to win the medal, but if you don't even have a game plan to get there, you don't have a game plan for even being here, just come to meet your friends. Is that the winning mindset that you want? What is your game plan for success?
I thought it was very motivating. I really liked it. I liked hearing about how he overcame the challenges, because everyone takes a different approach. And for me, it's just something I can add to my arsenal, so in the future I can say, you know, how did John Register do it whenever I run into an obstacle?
Sometimes it's very difficult to recognize the patterns of the winning mindset. What are those winning mindset patterns? I didn't overcome what you think I overcame. Because for me, what I overcame was my negative stigma. What I overcame was a negative speak of others. Other people choosing to say for me what I could or could not do based upon what they believe they could or could not do if they were the amputee.
So inspirational, and he's real. He's just so real. His ability not just to inspire, but he also had a workshop with us where we could practice new skills, have some more insight about ourselves to identify what we're going to take away and really set goals for what we're going to do after we leave this event.
Inspiration truly is the catalyst to motivation. That motivation in turn causes us to have action, and those actions lead us to transformational results. Those transformational results re-inspire us to allow someone else that's watching the process to truly catch the vision.
I would say clearly you want to book John, because that's a huge opportunity. It's a mental model people can relate to. It's a great experience to go through the presentation with John, but there's also an opportunity to take action.
So it's amazing, you know, people came away very inspired, humbled in some ways, right? But I think the really great thing is people came away excited and, of course, honored to have John here with us today.
What is it that we need to release? What is it we need to get rid of? What is it that we need to push away? What is it that we need to amputate to create our new normal?
Embrace your new normal mindset with the one and only John Register, who's now, what's going on, Kevin Goins. Got to connect with Kevin Goins if you don't know him. He's out there in Houston, Texas. An amazing individual. Thanks a lot, Sap, for joining as well. Tuck has framed the conversation for those folks who are just tuning in so they can understand what you're about to talk about, the pathway from fear to freedom. And I'll bring that up now and have the team do that while you're kind of framing the conversation.
So thanks, Shay. So how we're looking at this is I had to really understand what it was that I was going through. What happened to me? How did I overcome this challenge that was in my life? Because a lot of times when I was talking about it, I began to realize that had I overcome the amputation of my left leg, I would have my leg back. And then people would say, oh, yeah, that's right. So I had to begin to understand what it was that I truly overcame. And it's really, it's understandable for all of us. We all go through this process. We might think about it in different terms, but we still all go through the process. So if we look at this fear to freedom pathway, right, it's the how we're going to go from the identified fear that we have. So we all have these fears when some type of change happens. What was the fear that happened when COVID-19 hit? I'm full of uncertainty. We heard that word a lot. I don't know what's going to happen next, because we lost control. When we lose control, we're in fear. Fear takes over our mindset, and we start doing irrational things like buying a lot of toilet paper because we want some type of control in our lives. I guess we have control over our bowel movements or something. But that fear takes over. So it's our first, it's fear of ourselves. And so if you look at the bottom one, we have this fear of ourselves, this internal stigma. The second one is fear of others, other people who are believing for us what we can or cannot do, which is based upon what they believe they could or could not do if they were in our shoes, if they were in our situation. And that's really not about them or about us. It's really about us fitting into their box so it makes them feel better. So you'll hear things like people being sympathetic instead of empathetic. Well, at least you didn't do, or at least you should have, instead of being really empathetic to the situation. And the third thing is, okay, since now we've identified the others, what about society? What is it in society that I've listened to that made me have my original fears in the first place? Was it when I watched Walt Disney's Captain Peter Pan? I see Captain Hook. Captain Hook's an amputee. Captain Hook's the villain. He's dark, he's scary, he's mysterious. But because he's an amputee, wait a minute, I'm an amputee. Am I dark? Am I mysterious? Are people afraid of me? Do children run from me when they go down the grocery aisle and mom or dad tells them to go a different direction, not to engage, not to interact with me? If I'm listening to those things, it's driving my fears that I have. So now we shift over kind of the second bucket as we keep going up the pathway of fear to freedom. We believe we are redefining ourselves in these moments because we are rebuilding our life. And we'll hear phrases like, oh, if things could just go back to the way they were, I just wish things would be go back to normal. Well, ladies and gentlemen, normal is gone. Normal is gone. Normal is gone. It's gone. So get over it. Begin to move that forward. But as we're building upon that premise, like I might say, if I overcame the amputation of my left leg, I'd have my leg back. That is not happening. I don't get that back. We don't get that relationship back. We don't get somebody that passed away back. But what we do start doing is we begin redefining ourselves in that moment, even though we're off this false premise, this false foundation. And as we're redefining ourselves to our original fears. We're redefining ourselves the fear of others, or maybe those societal fears. And because of that, this is where the big, you can't get this on 10 steps on whatever show you want to watch. This is your own personal choice, your own work. You're the one, as we say in the military, that has to jump out the plane. No one's pushing you out. You have got to do this work. And that's why I say you must choose what it is in your life that is holding you back from your release. And that release is, what are you going to amputate to embrace this new normal mindset? You have to, that's your own. And this is where people get stuck. They don't, it might take them 3 minutes, might take them 3 years, it might take them 3 hours, it might take them 30 years, but this is where people get stuck. They're fearful of what will my friends say? They're fearful, what will my family say? What will society say about my decision? I'm so fearful of what's going to happen about that. And we go right back, we slide right back over to that first part of the pathway. We slide right, it's like chutes and ladders. We go right back down to the beginning. We have to choose, once we amputate, to go over to the final set. And this is where the growth actually happens. And you quicken in your business, you quicken in your life, you quicken in other people's lives, because you're now realizing it wasn't about rebuilding at all. It was about a rebirth. And that rebirth says that I am going to learn how to do this over again. I'm going to come out again. It is another base that we are establishing. And I can now build on this solid foundation, a strong building. I can't build any other one because I'm trying to go back, I'm going backwards. But this one, I had to relearn how to run again. Or not even run. I had to learn how to push myself in a wheelchair when I didn't have my leg. Then and walking inside the parallel bars. And then from the parallel bars to a walker, and from a walker to crutches, right? And from crutches to a cane, and from a cane to walking solo, and from walking solo, then eventually years later to running. So, but I got stronger in it. And I got so strong in it that I could now get this resolution, this resolve. I was resolute in who I am. You're not going to put me back or tell me who I am any longer. You're not going to pull me back to your ideals and of who I should be to make you feel safe and comfortable. No, you need to catch up to where I am. And when we get into that moment, it's not an arrogance, it's just an understanding of who we are with confidence. And that's where we have that confidence, we have that conviction, and it pulls people to us. We become that solid rock, that stone that brings everybody over to the other side. And that equals our freedom. It equals our liberation. And we realize, Shay, that that's one more false little summit. We got a little bit more ways to go, because in that false summit of that we think it's for us, it's not for us. That freedom is not for us. It's for us to go back and liberate somebody else that's in their fear.
Liberate someone else that's in their fear. Thanks so much for sharing that. For Deborah Gardner that's out there watching right now, fantastic person over in Phoenix, Arizona. Got to connect you with her. She's one of your NSA folks out there.
Yeah, I know Deborah Gardner. Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
Yeah, she's an amazing person. She's more on the swimming side, by the way. She's on the swimming side. She's out there.
Absolutely.
Sharice is out there. Edith says she's tuning in right now. She's coming in from Las Vegas. She says she wants to let you know she's in the house, by the way. West Virginia's in the house. For everyone that's out there right now, I'm going to ask John the question, what is his number one key to success? Now, he knows a lot of them. He's sharing them right now. But what's one of his number one keys to just being resilient or being successful? But before he answers that question, I want you to hit the share button. I want you to hit the watch party button. When John showed up, he didn't ask for a Cash App payment before we got started. He didn't say you gotta send me a Zelly payment. He didn't say what's the credit card number. He said, Shay, I'm here to serve. I'm here to give. So here's how you can give him a digital applause. You can pay this forward to someone else. Hit the share button right now. Hit the watch party button right now. You hit that button, write those words, embrace your new normal mindset. Hashtag John Register. Just do that right now. Do that right now. For those folks that did that, thanks so much. Thanks so much. For those folks that are watching, you can look right below the video. You can look right below the video and you can write those words. Embrace your new normal mindset. Just look right below the video and write those words. So John, I was thinking in my head that someone out there might be asking, wow, this guy's been around some of the best, the athletes. He served. Thanks so much for serving the country. What is his number one key to success, Shay? What is he going to say? I don't know. What is it, John? Tell us.
Well, you know, I there was a woman who asked me this. I was in a business class, a veterans entrepreneurship business class, and she said, hey, John, what's the number one thing in business that you need to be thinking about? You know, she asked the whole class, and all of us got the answer wrong, according to her. And so she finally came up and she said, because we were saying, you know, it's our marketing, it's contactless, it's resources, it's all these things. She's like, no. And she says, the number one thing in business that you need to be thinking about is how you're going to dispose of your business, how you're going to get rid of it, how you're going to close up shop. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Because what that mindset does, it begins to make us think or shows us that we are going to be successful. And now we're just trying to go to the next iteration of it. And it's a very different framework of trying to do all these other things. You're already seeing the goal at the end. And thinking, and you know, as you were talking about Noah, you know, I love that story. You know, got no hammer, got no nails. That was great. So I started thinking about, what do I want at the end of my life? And I wanted to hear my God say, well done, my good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of my rest. So how am I going to do that? I am going to show up in the best way possible and pour into people as much as I can to give them the tools and the pathway for their success. And that really is it. It's paying it. Some people call it paying it forward, but I'm calling it paying it into somebody else's life in such a way that it's not about that monetary value, that it's all about the deposits that we make into each other. And so here's what happens from that. Because my wife poured into me, and I elevated my mindset to this new normal mindset, and it was not, like I said, it's not a destination. It's only a plateau to grow. I began growing my mindset on what was actually possible. So I started swimming for physical therapy. And I got so fast in the water that I somehow messed up, fluked up, and made the Paralympic swim team. So instead of going to the Olympic Games as a hurdler, I went as an African-American swimmer. In my book, we just didn't do that sport too much at that time. So, but now we got Simone, we got Emmanuel, you know. So now so I saw people with artificial limbs on the track running as I was at the swim venue. One guy who's on the long jump runway, and he's running down the track, leg over leg. I never saw that before. And I'm a 27-foot long jumper, like I said, at Arkansas. Hits the takeoff board. He leaps into the air. Apex, the height of his flight, his artificial leg flies off. He lands in the sand here. Artificial leg lands about 3 feet up in front of him. Whole crowd goes Macaulay Culkin. Home Alone. He turns back to the official and says, "Hey, Shay, where are you going to measure my jump from? From right here, my artificial leg landed up there." And I said, "Oh my gosh, it's a brilliant attitude to have." So think about the attitude. Think about the mind shift that he had with all eyes on him, with all eyes, surprised, COVID-19, surprised, Black Lives Matter, surprised. And he had the wherewithal to shift every one of their minds with the words that he spoke and yelled back to the official. So I said, why am I in the swim venue? I'm doing something at a very excellent level, but that's not my lane. My lane is track and field. So even though I did my best at the Paralympic Games in 1996 as a swimmer, I got back on the track, had a leg made for running, went to Sydney, Australia, in the long jump, 100 meters and 200-meter dash. And in the long jump, I was able to have a pretty good feat. I don't know if we have time for it, but I want to show the clip to see what happened after I get to Sydney and I take my 6 jumps. You got that clip for your guys up there?
So we're now going to Sydney, Australia, ladies and gentlemen.
We're going to Sydney, Australia.
Let's see what happens. When you guys cue that up, let's go ahead and show it to the audience. This is a treat. You guys are still broadcasting. That's good. Here we go. Okay. Sorry about that. I froze up. Here we go. There we go.
Let's take a look at the men's long jump F42 final starting list, and Lucas Christen from Switzerland is the dominant one in this field. He holds both the world and Paralympic record in this event. Victor Goriansen from Sweden is up now, ready for his 3rd attempt. It's not a bad effort. He's pretty satisfied with it. 4.89. It's actually a season best for the Swede. Here's the man to beat. He is the world record holder, jumping 5.43 in 98 in Birmingham. Well, he's pleased the crowd. He's happy with that one. And so he should be. He's smashed his world mark with 5.57, a new world mark. Well, the pressure's really on now for John Register from the USA. 5.57, the mark to beat. Nice lead up, but it's short. He's not able to take the gold from Christen, but he does move into 2nd spot. So here are the results of the men's long jump final. Gold to Christen, silver to Register, and Goriansen home with the bronze.
Yay! Boom!
I love it, man. I'm loving it. That is a cool clip, my man. I'm loving it.
So here's the deal, right? Every time I see that clip, I think I'm going to win the gold medal. I missed it again, doggone. But here's the fascinating thing, Shay, is that, and for everybody that's out there, some people say, okay, you didn't win the gold, there's a Nike commercial that says you don't win silver, you lose the gold. Mm-hmm. And that took me 20 years to get that. Mm-hmm. That's something that you earn, and we earn what we earn. So if I don't say I've earned this and I deserve the gold medal of something I had not yet attained, I did not attain it, what am I saying about my competition? So you just got to prepare that much harder. You got to prepare that. You have to dig that much deeper to be that much more excellent at what you do. Because if you're not wanting to do that and you're starting to go and shift it and say different things and try to take the conversation in a different space, then that's not being authentic to yourself and driving down as much as you can and owning what you own. The second thing was, remember we were talking about resolve on that pathway. Mm-hmm. So the language of resolution takes on a different form when you have actually accomplished what you were out there to accomplish. Now, yes, I wanted to win the gold medal. No one wants to win the silver, but you earn what you earn. On the ride back down in the elevator, when I held the medal in my hand for the first time and I felt the weight of it, I mean, it was the most amazing experience of my life. 20 years worth of work, and I had to lose a leg to get this. A reporter who knew me when I ran track and field for Arkansas, mm-hmm. She caught me at the bottom of the steps, and she said, at the elevator, and she says, "Hey, John, you ran against Michael Johnson in the relays when you were at Arkansas when he was running for Baylor. Wow. You jumped against Carl Lewis. Do you think with artificial limb technology that you could do the same thing again?" And I really thought about her question, Shay, for a moment, and then I said, "No, I don't know. I don't think I could." However, your question might be better phrased as, if Carl Lewis or Michael Johnson lost a limb, could they run as fast or jump as far as I do? And that's the language of resolve. That's the language of the catch up. I don't have to go back to a previous existence for me to understand or come underneath your terms to make you feel good. You need to catch up to where I am. And that's where we are right now as entrepreneurs, as business owners. We need people to catch up to where we are so we can lead them out of the fears that they're in right now.
Lead them out of the fears of where they are right now. For those folks that are watching, you got Sean Harper, a good friend, is watching right now. Got to connect you guys together. Former NFL player, just an amazing speaker himself out there watching right now. You got the one and only Tanya Ashley. That name probably sounds familiar to you, Brother Lyon. I just saw
Sergeant Major.
one. She's watching. You just bring out the all-stars.
Sergeant Major, yes.
Sergeant Major, yes.
Sergeant Major, yes.
You bring out the super all-stars, man. I just can't get over this. But for all those folks that are out there that are tuned in right now, thanks so much for being authentic. Thanks for sharing. You know, one of the core mantras we have here at the Happy Entrepreneur Show, and it's this mantra and its core value is today is my January 1st. And today is my January 1st represents one of those moments where you don't wait for it to appear on a calendar, but you create a January 1st moment. For those folks who know what I'm about to do, you can look right below the video right now. You can write those words. Today is my January 1st. For those folks that are wondering, what in the LL Cool J is Shay talking about? Today is my January 1st represents one of those moments throughout the day. And it's probably 1,000 moments where you get to make a decision. And that decision could forever change the trajectory of your life. So you make a decision, you're going to work out. You sit back or you binge watch and watch Netflix. You make a decision, you're going to eat hamburgers and french fries with a little salt and pepper and ketchup. I know you got to have that. I know. I get it. I get it. Or you open up the refrigerator and there's some broccoli. There's some kale. There's some carrots. That's a January 1st moment. My question for John Register is, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what does it mean to you? What do you hear, my friend?
Wow. So here's what's going on in my head right now, right? So this morning, I was laying in bed and I didn't want to get started. I was having one of those days like, you know, this is tough. It's a tough day. And but I got up, I did my little walk. I'm listening to my music and listening to a little podcast as I'm doing my walk in the morning. So I forced myself to get up and get out of bed and do my walk. Even though I was a little bit late doing it, I did it. But when I walked out on my front porch, we have these birds. And the birds have all hatched. And now they have all flown the coop. Last night, they all flew the coop, except for one. One was still up there. And I'm like, what are you doing? All your homies are gone. Mommy ain't coming back here to feed you anymore. You know, you got to figure this thing out. You got to leave the nest. And to me, that became the January 1st moment. I started thinking about that. And everybody else is gone. Everybody else is working. Everybody else is trying to gather food. Everybody else is trying to get stuff into their barns, right? And gather. And this guy's still in the bed. And that was me. I was like, I got to get out the bed. I got to fly out and really start and go forage for food myself. And that was that moment for me this morning that happened really early. I took a picture of the little guy, and guess where he's at right now? He's not up there in that nest. He figured it out. He's out. He's gone. And I said, and that was me, you know, kind of trying to figure it out for myself to get my day started. And we all have days like that. But we have to just kind of go through, like I said, develop the ritual. The ritual elevates us to a rhythm, and the rhythm elevates us to a rise. And that is our resilience to actually move ourselves forward. And that was my moment for today, Shay.
Man, I love it. Thanks so much for sharing. You know, sometimes there's truth in truisms, right? And you may have heard this phrase before, that consistency is the key. Consistency is the key. Well, you know, consistency is the key. And having said that, what do most people struggle with, and I have my hand up as well, is consistency. So my question is to the person that's competed Olympics, the person that's in the military and served as well, the person that's speaking on stages, that's helping folks empower, inspire, and embrace the new normal mindset. What do you share with your audience, or what do you share with your clients in order for them to be consistent and to hashtag stay the course?
Yeah, so that it's different for everybody. But I want them to find that moment. So what I invite people to do is there's always something that a person does in their daily routine, whenever it comes up, where they're the most creative, they're the most productive. And I want them to begin to take notice of those moments. The reason I have to go out on a walk or drive is because that's when my thoughts kick in gear. And that's when I have either my phone is with me or I got a little pad, a note paper there, because that's when those moments come, those great ideas happen. Usually they don't happen inside of a boardroom when they're forced to happen. They happen when you're outside. So whatever that moment is, you have to identify it. So that's what I tell my clients first. Then once you are able to do that, now you need an accountability partner, somebody that you can connect with that's going to hold you accountable, whether it's in a mastermind group or it's a one-on-one relationship, but somebody that's going to hold you accountable to what you just wrote down that you want to accomplish during the day. And you check in with that person, start of the day, end of the day. And if you can do those two things, right? So check in the beginning of the day, end of the day, it at least pushes you forward on the tough days. And then sometimes you knock it out of the park. You blow it away. You do 16 projects on a day. And some days you get 8 done, right? But you're moving, you're always progressing forward. So I love that question.
Yeah, thanks so much. There's folks out there like, man, Shay, this is powerful. This is Christy Jones. Thanks a lot, Christy Jones, for watching. And so many folks, they're thinking, all right, how can I connect with John Register? But before you do that, Shay, who does John Register work with? So it's a 2-part question. Number 1, what type of clients do you work with or do you speak with? And number 2, how can they best connect with John Register?
Great. So I really appreciate that. So that's in flux right now. It's really changing because of the way we're dealing. So we're all in this new environment, and I'm embracing it, right? I'm taking on and trying to take on things that I usually haven't done before. But now I have a series of I'm coaching some people right now, and how to actually walk them through that process that I just showed you. But most of my clients have been kind of Fortune 500 companies. So we're talking about like Southwest Airlines, American Airlines, KPMG, and the Coca-Colas, all those kind of those type of companies, to help their managers or their leaders to look at the way they are not just managing teams, but themselves. Because it really begins with us. And a lot of times, like we said earlier, we begin to forecast our fears onto other individuals. We don't want to take that ownership ourselves. It's that remember, that's a redefining moment. We don't want to do that. We skirt it, instead of saying Black Lives Matter, we say all lives matter. Well, yeah, but if it's a house that's burning down, we don't say all houses matter. We throw water in the house that's burning up. Right. So that's what we're talking about here. We don't skirt the issue. We dive into that issue. So that's kind of who I work with and how I help the clients through that process. So it's also with the State Department. So I've done a lot of work with their sports envoy program, which when leaders come to the United States, I help those individuals that are trying to build programs back in their countries to see what resources they need to actually be successful. We've had some really great success with that. I'm on their speakers program. So anytime I go, and this is great for all of you that when we get back to traveling again, call up the U.S. consulate, call up the U.S. embassy. And when you get there to a country, say that you're just in town, and they would love to have you come over and just share your information with the people that they have on their staffs. It's great, and you get a chance to get some tickets and some really cool stuff. So that's for free. Then the last thing is with the State Department is with the what's called Champions of Adversity. So I did this thing called I went to the United Arab Emirates, and I began to talk about disability and diversity. They just had the year of tolerance over there with disability. And word got back to our own State Department here at the headquarters, and I was brought in to start building how to build championship teams. So that was a really big deal because I'm just doing my thing, but I found out that the person that couldn't make it that day, had a conflict, was actually Tony Dungy. So I was like backing up Tony Dungy. I'm like, what? So that was it just kind of shows you where you are if you stay true to your authentic voice. I don't try to be like anybody else except for JR, for John Register, JR right there. So that's number 1. How to find me. My website is probably the fastest way, which is johnregister.com. But I am now starting a Facebook group, which is called Amputate Fear. And so if you just do the facebook.com/amputate fear, we're going to start having conversations around how do we amputate the fears that are in our lives and really have some robust conversations around that. And I really want to hear from everybody because that is something that we all can grow in because we all have them. But those fears are really false evidence appearing real. So how do we get rid of them so that we can help other people?
I love it. So for those folks that are out there, he gave us two places. First, you can go to his website. Someone do me a favor. Look right below the video and just put johnregister.com. johnregister.com. That's one of the ways to connect with him. Now, sometimes, John, nothing personal. These websites don't work, right? Technology happens, things
Right.
happen, nothing personal. So why
It
don't we
better be
all
working.
open up a browser now? Everyone open up a browser. What's up, William Thomas, my man? Thanks for joining. Let's open up a browser. We open up a browser. Let's all type in www. What is it again?
johnregister.com.
www. He's nervous too. He's checking himself. He's just as nervous.
I am checking.
He wants to make sure his website works. So let's make sure that it works. We're going to bring it up in just a second. See if we can get that thing up. All right, John. So I have verified, John. I'm looking at it now that your website, I think this is your homepage, that your website
Prince Harry
indeed does work. All right. So you got, is it working? Is it flipping? It might be I got two things going on at one time. So give it a second here. All right. So we're on your website now. This looks like this is you speaking here. Where was this?
Yep.
At? That's pretty cool.
That's at the federal FDIC.
In DC?
In DC, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, Michelle Obama. Oh, wow. Success isn't about how your life looks to others. Oh, what was that experience like? I gotta stop. It says the first lady, Michelle Obama. I gotta stop here. Tell us about how you met her and what the feeling was like. Just give us a quick, 2-minute backstory.
That's not even quick, but I'll try to make. So this event right here is when I started the Paralympic military sport program. It grew into Warrior Games, and Warrior Games grew into Prince Harry's Invictus Games. And so in 2012, during the re-election, she came to Colorado Springs, and I was her front person because I was one of 35 co-chairs for the re-election of President Barack Obama. And so she came over, and I was hosting the program at the United States Olympic Committee there that day, and she was on stage, and I got a chance to introduce her as the other platform speakers. And so we had a really great conversation. But there are many of those. I got to write up all the stories because we've met like 5 times, and it was just amazing every single time, and just having some great fun. She's a wonderful human being.
Man, that's pretty cool. Ladies and gentlemen, you never know what you're going to find, man. We're here with the one and only John Register. Looks like you've done some TED Talks here, which is super duper amazing, by the way. You can go over to johnregister.com. John Register. There's a book here. Hold up. Well, let's see. 10 powerful stories to impact any leader. Now, John, I know you weren't prepared to do this, man, but I can't possibly go to your site, see this thing on 10 powerful stories, and not ask you to share one story with the audience as you're there now. And while you're doing that, I'm going to just kind of go through the site. But can you give us one story? It says impact any leaders. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, so it's kind of a flip, right? So I leaders, when I was doing some work with the State Department, I kept hearing that leaders didn't have time to really help their people with their stories. So they would bring somebody like me in to just share my story and connect the dots. And I wanted them to have their own stories. So that's kind of where this book came from. It's called Journal Your Way to Leadership Success. So I start with 10 of my stories, ask them questions in the book, and then they come up with their stories. So now they can go back to their teams because I'm going to be gone, right? I'm in there for a few hours, I'm out. So here's one story I love. It's one of my favorite stories in the book. It's one of the last stories I write. And that is my son, John Jr. He's now he was coming up, I think, on 6 years old. And I just had my leg amputated. And before that time had happened, we would go to church down the country. And down the street from the church, not down the street, but down the little creek road, there was a little creek, a little bridge way in the country. And so when he was younger, he would always ask me to race him down to the creek. And so we jump out of church and we run down the creek, and sometimes I let him win and sometimes he let me win, and he's always jumping in front of my feet. And then we have a nice talk on the way back. So when I lost my leg was amputated. We're coming out of church. My leg is sweating. It's hurting. It's really not feeling really good at that time. And he asked me with his, just almost 6-year-old self, he says, hey, Dad, can we race down to the creek again? And I looked down at my leg and I realized that I got to tell him that I have changed and I can't run on this leg. It's flopping. There's no hydraulic on it. It's really just one of my first limbs. I'm really unsure about myself. I still got a little cane with me. And he's asked me to run. And I looked at him and I said, son, I can't run down there with you this time. Maybe I don't know. And it was hard for me to say that because of the experience that we had before. And then he looks up at me and says, "Well, Dad, can we just walk down there?" And I realized, it wasn't about the race. It was about the relationship. And how many times we always trying to race to get our point across or our viewpoint out and denying the relationships that are all around us all the time. And that's one of those stories that's so powerful. I think about that all the time of when I'm going too fast, I'm running too quick, and I really need to sit back and empathize with the person I'm listening to and really hear it from their perspective. That's I love that story in that book.
Man, really hear from their perspective. Man, I hate to wear you out, but I've got to ask one more question. For those folks out there, hit the share button, hit the watch party button, pay this message forward to your network. John's okay with you putting this into your private group. If you're in a private group on Facebook, he's okay with you sharing this on Facebook. If you're watching on a podcast or you're on Roku right now, or maybe Apple TV or Amazon Fire, just take the link and you can pay it forward to your network. Do that now. When you do that, when you hit that button, just say embrace your new normal mindset. Hashtag John Register. That's what it's all about. But I was browsing around your site being nosy while you were talking, by the way. Great story. And I came across this thing with Oprah Winfrey. Now, okay, you would think a guy would stop with Michelle Obama, right? Former first lady. You think we saw a picture with him with number 44, the one and only President Barack Obama, okay? And I'm thinking, okay, this is cool. But then I'm glancing around here and I'm seeing all these photos and these pictures, and it's him. It's not Photoshopped. It's him, by the way. It's not a cardboard box there. It's him. And so I asked myself, I saw Oprah and I said, okay, all right, this is it. This is the last question I'm asked, but I'm getting so inspired. And hopefully as you're watching and you're sharing it, you're getting inspired as well. Tell us a little about the story, about this photo with Oprah Winfrey, but more importantly, what did you take away from that experience that you can share with me and the audience? That's the real question.
Wow. I mean, everybody is a gift.
Yeah.
And then some people, everybody has certain gifts, but some people actually are the gift. And when you look at a Michelle Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama, you look at an Oprah Winfrey, you look at President Barack Obama, you look at a Prince Harry, all those, they give so much behind the scenes that they really have this passion that is greater than life, but it is just their life. And they share it so graciously with everybody else, and it elevates them to a different degree. That event that happened there was the Chicago was bidding on the 2016 Olympic Games, which we failed to get, and we were at the Art Museum in Chicago, and there was a private affair. Few of us were in the room. We had Buddy Guy's Legends was playing. It was all awesome night, and without any introduction, the room just all of a sudden a hush comes over the room, and of course. Oprah Winfrey walks in, and of course she doesn't need an introduction, and everybody is gawking and everything, and so I didn't know she was actually sitting like at the table right next to me, like we're almost like back to back. And so of course I struck up a conversation with her, and she was interested in what I was talking about, not so much about the new normal topic, but about my amputation and how I overcame it. So she's always talking about those stories. And what I took away from that is, number one, how gracious she was to just listen and empathize and really be genuinely in the moment with me. So it taught me that no matter how I think of other individuals that are coming up and talking to me after my presentations, be engaged, be with them in the moment. The second thing was that she was gracious to everybody else that was around her, and she's really listening. As you can tell, she's leaning. Well, there's another picture that's there. She's really leaning in and hearing what is happening, and I think that's what makes her so great of listening to other individuals. So how do we take that forward? How do we do that? How do we listen with such intent that we are trying to make a difference, not only for ourselves, but for the audiences that we're connecting with? Because I know that's what's going on in her head. It's spinning because that's what she does. She's a storyteller, and she's looking at those stories.
Wow. Thanks so much for sharing, man. You certainly have a heart to give. You have a heart to serve. Hey, he's like in overtime right now, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't know. He's probably in double overtime. But, one of the things I admire most about John Register is that, he shows up to add value. He shows up to give. And he shows up to change lives. And John Register will change your life if you let him. John, you've met so many people in your journey. And for those who want to connect with him, he gave you a website, johnregister.com. Head on over there. If you could pick one idea that you've learned from one of your mentors along this journey that you could just share with us, the audience, that's going to help us embrace this new normal, it's going to help us overcome our fears, what's the one idea or concept that you've learned that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just one thing because I learned from so many people. I try to take the best of what I have and I kind of put them together. And a friend of mine helped. I was sharing this with him, and he said, "Oh my gosh, that's what this is what this means." I was like, "Oh, wow, that's good." And I have a mantra that I share with people, and it's the mantra is go forth, inspire your world.
Mm-hmm.
Go forth, inspire your world. Now here's what that means. Go is your command. Forth, that's your direction. Inspire, that's your vocation. This work is only personal for you. It has your DNA on it. World, this is your sphere of influence. Go forth, inspire your world. If we are able to do just that and make change in our influence, in our own little space, our own world that we are showing up in with our own DNA print in a positive manner, think about the changes that we can make in this world and connect together. So that's it. Go forth, inspire the world. Also will be on LinkedIn. I have a LinkedIn. I do LinkedIn Live on Thursday afternoon at 3:12 in the afternoon. So that's going to be on tomorrow. Got another amazing guest that's going to be on. But that go forth, inspire the world, inspire your world is the mantra that I push people to try to understand that it's up to you. It's no one else. Stop pushing it to other people. It's not somebody else's job. It's your job to do it.
Yeah, great, man. Second to last question. What do you enjoy most about what you're doing now?
I enjoy the production.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it's still, after making change and helping, seeing myself and impacting other people's lives, and I'm impacted by their lives. It's really the creative space. I love creating. So sometimes I'll do a live like this, and sometimes it's a pre-record. And I love going to a different park and doing a pre-record and bringing that in and having a discussion and conversation and doing a lot of those, kind of production builds. So that's what I really love doing. I love the fact that my wife and I get a chance to walk the neighborhood every day. I love the fact that my children are home and we can have dinner upstairs like nightly. And I'm not on the road all the time. But I love the fact that I can be in New York on the East Coast, that I can be in Central Time, I can be Mountain Time, and I can be on Pacific Time, or I can be off in Rwanda, all in one day, right? And I didn't even get on a plane. So I love that fact, and I love the fact how people, especially kids, how we used to say, kids, get off that internet, get off that game. And now we're all doing it, right? And we're seeing that we are connecting and reading faces and body language and expression of thoughts of things we didn't think that we could actually do. And we're seeing the connection pieces that are there because we're allowing people into our homes. And a dog goes by, or the wife goes by, or whatever, and people are seeing that and giving grace to it, but saying, "Oh, I didn't know that about you. I didn't know that you had this Arkansas. You did this track and field, and you're the Hall of Famer, right?" So they're looking at stuff behind my head, and they're trying to read the board. All that's and that's cool. And so I love that fact that we're bringing people in.
Well, let me say two things. One, you certainly have a heart to give. You have a heart to serve. I want to say thank you, number one, so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. We appreciate you. We've got to have you back. So much value for everyone that's out there right now. One way you can give John a digital applause, you can look right below the video, and you can write those words. Thank you, John. You can put, we appreciate you, John Register, or you can put, great job, John Register. The other way you can give a digital applause is pay it forward. Just hit the share button. Just hit the watch party button, and you just know that you blessed someone else. You made a difference for another entrepreneur, another single mom, another single dad, another married couple, another dualpreneur, someone out there that's just like you. They're in the field. They got their sleeves rolled up. and they're in the trenches, and that goes so much. So we appreciate all of you who shared this message with your network. With that being said, John has agreed, and I'm so humble that he's agreed to give his closing comments. Isn't that pretty cool? He's going to give his final thoughts, which is so cool. I know sometimes people can't do it, they're out of time, and we appreciate every one of our guests. We really do. But John said he's going to do that. So I'm going to turn it over to John to give his closing thoughts, his closing comments, to inspire, to empower you, continue to move forward. But before you do that, make sure you go to www.johnregister.com. Connect with John, follow John, and he'll give you the Facebook page. I forgot what it is, where you can go to join his group. It's open to the public right now. There may come a time where he needs a credit card, but not today. You can join today at no cost.
No, yeah, it's a private group. Just jump in there, amputate fear. So I don't know how to even do that stuff. I'm trying to figure it all out myself. We're gonna do a group, amputate fear. I gotta get the whole tribe together, right?
Yeah.
Happy entrepreneurship shows, Jay. I mean, thank you. What a gift! What a gift you are. Like I said, some people have gifts, and some people are the gift. You are definitely the gift. So thank you for what you do, for opening up platforms and sharing so much of your heart into people to help them grow. I mean, I love that dualpreneurship, all that stuff. And everybody that's out there, right now, I love that you stayed a little bit longer on this because, I'm a speaker. I can talk. You got sometimes tell me to land the plane. But Shay said go, so I'm going to go. And we'll keep doing that. And then, my thoughts around this of what I try to share with individuals also is, besides the go forth, inspire your world, is that this word of inspiration. And most people think I'm a motivational speaker, and I'm not. I'm not a motivational speaker. But on the algorithms, that's what you lead with, right? Because people understand motivational speaker, but I'm not that. Because motivation needs an agent. It needs a catalyst. And the catalyst to motivation is inspiration. Inspiration is a catalyst to motivation. You are inspirational. And that catalyst to motivation causes actions. Actions then lead us to transformational results. Those results, what do? They re-inspire us, or they allow someone else that's watching the process to catch the vision. Inspiration, catalyst to motivation. Motivation in turn causes actions. Actions leads to transformational results, and those results, they re-inspire us or allow other people that are watching the process to catch the vision. Who are you inspiring today?
With that being said, y'all listen to the one and only John Register. Thanks so much, John. We appreciate you for every single one of you watching. I want you to know that you are amazing and that today is your January 1st. You can go from fear to freedom. Today is your January 1st. You can embrace your new normal mindset. And for you, the best is yet to come. Why? Because you are the comeback champion. With that being said, for those folks that forgot who I am, want to know what my name is, by the way. My name, by the way, is Shay Brown, the happy entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. And I promise you from the bottom of my heart, we'll make some good things happen. We connect again next time. Remember, time is long. Life, by the way, is short. So live in the moment and make it count. Peace. We're out. Thanks a lot, John. You rock star, man. We appreciate you. Looking forward to connect with you later. Bye, everyone. This is so much fun. Gotta go.
Promise I made to my mom. I only did this message for one person, and that's my mom. This is for you, Mom. Love you. My name is Shay Brown, the happy entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Shay Brown.
Mic check, mic check.
All I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
Yes. Yeah.
And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win.
Yeah. Thank you. God bless.